Thank you, everyone.
Yes. Okay, so we've talked about
Okay, we are here today to talk about a topic that is universal, and that is food. Why food? Because of what I just stated. Everybody eats. It's universal. And we're going to delve into that. And one of the reasons why we even wanted to do it, or why I wanted to do it, is Dave and I happen to have been on a cruise that we mentioned earlier, a celebrity cruise. And they have amazing food. And I remember during our day, or when we were doing an excursion, we were out by the pool, or whatever we were doing, we would be talking, oh, what are we eating tonight? What are we eating tonight? And it was so nice because we didn't have to make it. We didn't even have to order it. It was already there on the menu. We knew it was coming. We anticipated it, and it was fun. And it got us talking about this subject of food. And the reason that I thought it was more of an issue than people think is because I've observed people and their attitudes toward food. Some people, they will not eat anything that is an animal product or a byproduct of an animal. And they do that. And I don't know if it's because of health, if it's because of their belief system, if it's because of they just don't want to see a living thing be sacrificed in that way, or I don't know. That would be an interesting interview for a podcast, but particularly on the talking side. Or they hold other deeply religious attitudes about certain types of meat. Pork comes to mind. Or maybe they're fasting, and that's why they, and it's all back to that performance or fear of not performing what they understand to be true. And that ties into the grace discussion. But while we're laser focused on the subject of food and what we consume or drink. And I know that I've become pretty fanatical about drinking water and drinking more water. I even attended a class when I was on the cruise about the importance of hydration and detoxing and all that. And the more toxins you take in, whether it would be related to caffeine, alcohol, you have to drink that much more water. So consumption, anything that goes into your mouth, it wouldn't just be food, but food or drink, is an interesting topic of conversation. So we're turning the tables on Dave now as the host of the teaching side. And I know you have things you probably want to say from a biblical or scriptural standpoint. But before we delve deep into that, what observations have you had, different or similar than I've expressed, with this subject of food? And it doesn't have to be you personally. It could be just observations with other people.
I mean, food is I've never really thought about it. Food is something that people, like me, I don't care. But there's other people that love it. I mean, it's funny. The ironic thing is I love to watch cooking shows.
But they're hugely popular.
But yeah, but I don't watch them for what they're making. I watch them because I'm competitive.
So you want to see who wins?
Yeah. Yeah, if there's something, okay. And how they win, and I like the creativeness that, okay, here's, you don't know what's in the basket. There's 5 things in the basket. Make something.
Oh, I see.
And that's
so you're limited. Cool. They're limited to what they can put in.
I like the puzzle part of that. But yeah, I mean, like you said, I mean, people have all kinds of things that some people don't like stuff. They just don't appreciate it. They don't like the taste. People don't eat stuff for religious reasons, or somebody in my life doesn't eat. The person's vegan. It's got nothing to do with anything other than the fact that somebody showed her a video when she went to college about the animals getting hurt, and she didn't like that, so she didn't want to be part of it.
So it's like a bleeding heart attitude of I can't eat something that was walked with 2 legs or 4 legs.
No, it's not. She doesn't want to be part of the system. She doesn't want to be part of the system that does that. But she feeds her kid meat, and she feeds her husband feeds me. I'll be over there tomorrow, and we're gonna they got a Traeger, we got a big old something we're gonna have tomorrow, I'm sure. But that's just it's a personal decision that she's made.
So she's not inflicting on other people.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
And I mean, you can see, we were talking earlier about obesity. I mean, one thing that there's a word called comfort food. We all have it. I mean, I say I don't care about food, and I have it, but that's what gets a lot of times people in trouble when sometimes when there's a lot going on, and it's time to eat, you just want something you don't have to think about.
Yeah.
because you're thinking about other things. I mean, that's the way it works for me. I mean, food for me personally, even though I eat too much, food is just something that I do at mealtime. And, I will think about the next meal only so that, okay, I'm out and my wife's not home tonight, so I got to cook for myself. Do I need to stop on the way home and get something? I don't want to get home and then go back out.
Well, I joke. My dad, and God love him, and I miss him. He's not in this world anymore, but he lived to eat, and I say that kind of affectionately, as opposed to
Oh, yeah.
eating to live. And I think my mom and I are I'm more like her that way, but it's kind of funny. He just loved talking about food, and he wanted everybody to enjoy food like he did. And I think that's another reason why I wanted to talk about this topic, because I just remember how much my dad loved food.
Before we move on,
Yeah.
they sitting a little bit towards your right.
Do what now?
Sit a little bit more towards your right.
Towards my
This way?
Right, this way?
Yeah, just push
Okay.
a little bit towards your right.
Like this?
Okay.
This better?
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, make it a little more. Also, you're a little more centered too. Sorry.
Oh, you want me to move my whole body? Is that what you mean?
Yeah. Also, you're there. We go.
Okay.
Let's see, and yeah, that's looking great. Okay, yeah, you guys keep going.
I mean, sure. I've got family members that are like that. I mean, my wife's father is like that. He is constantly thinking about the next meal, not because he's worried about it, but just the creative side of him. And he wants to go make something that's neat. And he'll put stuff together that's got no business being together. I'm told, and sometimes it works. He's got a daughter who I will eat things that I hate if his daughter.
Can you
makes
give me an
something
example?
specific.
I'm curious now. What does he have together that has no business being together? Can you give me an example?
Oh, I don't eat his food. My
But
wife,
you've observed it.
Yeah, my wife goes over and once a week, or she used to go over once a week, and she said, her dad would just make crazy things, and sometimes it worked, and sometimes it didn't.
Like a sandwich, just like that?
Yeah, but whatever it would be, and he just, I mean, but for Thanksgiving, he Traegers a turkey, and it's great. It's great, and he does, he does all kinds of. Again, see, I don't pay attention.
He what? What does to a turkey? What does he do?
Traeger.
What does that mean?
He smokes it.
Oh, he smokes it. Okay.
Smokes it. In a
Okay,
Traeger.
I've not. Okay, that's a brand name.
Yeah,
for-
Traeger. Yeah,
for the smoker.
it's a
Yeah,
smoker.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
why.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Again, they would tell me, and I would say, well, that sounds bad, and then I would forget 30 seconds later, because I think I told you the other day, I know food. I'm concerned about food when it's in front of me. When it's done, okay,
Hey, Dave, it's time to eat.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Now I get excited. You get excited about it.
for a minute, yeah, and I have some things that I like to eat, but for the most part, I'm okay. But I realize I'm a rarity. A lot of people, and again, my wife's sister. I mean, she makes Martha Stewart look like a horrible cook. I make that I will
good.
things that I know that I hate. If she prepares them, I'll eat them, because she's probably going to find a way to make me like them. No, she's just fantastic at it, and we all thought she was going to be the next Martha Stewart, and then things happen. But so I know people have that. For me, it's never been a thing. I find what other people find in food, I find in other things.
Yeah.
And I've never understood it. But people look at me and say, "Well, I don't understand that." Okay, that's fine.
I know when I get really busy, it could be 2 in the afternoon or 3, and somebody will say, "What did you have for lunch?" Or "Did you eat lunch?" Oh, I forgot. When I get into my work, what I'm doing, I totally forget about eating.
Yes, yeah, I don't agree with that.
And that's why I'm saying I live to eat, or eat to.
You need to eat to
I
survive.
eat to live or survive more than I. But on a cruise, when you don't have, when it's all about fun, then eating becomes more passionate. But I have seen people, they literally, we talked about this before in other conversations, where people can be paralyzed because of food. What they eat, don't eat, refuse to eat. And I feel like they get zapped with joy. They get zapped with pleasure, because there's so much food out there that can be enjoyed. But if you hamstring yourself to an ideology or an attitude or whatever, and there's reasons why obviously we eat. Maybe we're trying to lose weight, we're dieting, we're whatever, and that's all with health in mind. And I get all that, but so just to be in a balanced view or conversation with it. But I just find the topic interesting, and I especially find different people's attitudes very interesting. I'm a people watcher. If I'm in a just to deviate a little bit, if I'm traveling somewhere or I'm in an airport, I just like watching people. And I guess that carries over into just observing how people and their attitudes that they have. about
You
different
talk about the cruise we're just on. I don't know. When I'm at home, I only eat twice a day. I have bacon and eggs for breakfast, and then I have whatever we have for dinner, and that's all we eat. And then I gorge on the weekends because I have no self control. But when we're on the ship, I don't know if you noticed, but that's what I had for breakfast. I had the same breakfast every day. I had too much, but it was basically just bacon and eggs and sausage. There was not. It was very few carbs at breakfast. And then lunch, I didn't even have very big lunches. The first day I did, and after that, I didn't enjoy eating lunch. But we were so active that I had to do something. I wasn't going to make it. And then you saw dinner. Dinner started out two appetizers, which was fine
That was the best part of the day.
it was. I mean, the appetizers were just a chicken or just a Caesar salad and a shrimp cocktail.
And we have some pictures of those. Do you have those, Eduardo?
Actually, do.
I mean, just because people probably, we are talking about food, so we should show some food maybe.
But
That would be
so I'd have those two, and then I'd have a whatever we had for dinner, and then I'd have a dessert. Well, by the end of the cruise, I was having two appetizers and two desserts.
Oh yeah. And I'm not a big dessert eater, but when you have a dessert menu,
Yeah, I didn't have that.
that,
What is that?
oh, that was really good.
What is that?
You would ask me.
I didn't have.
Don't remember, but I do remember how good it tasted.
Yeah. See, that doesn't appeal to me.
But I do remember, what I do remember, go back to that. Remember the top, that top? No. I remember when we were talking about this. This came up in your cake show, reality show contest. And I asked you about that. I said, well, what part is referring to that?
I don't know.
And you said it was something. And that's where they hold things together. That's how they make these. That's how they make these different shapes or these figures on a cake.
Oh, fondant?
Is that what it is?
I guess.
So that's
I don't
what
know.
that-
I don't know
That's
what
what
it is.
Besides it tasted great, what I remember the most is it related to the cake baking
Okay,
show.
okay.
And that green up there apparently is like you can make sculptures with it.
That'd be fun. Yeah, it's fondant then.
Yeah, fun.
And I don't know what that is, but
Yeah.
I know it's what it is.
Yeah. So anyway, so that's one picture. That's one of many things that we indulged in on the cruise.
But I see, I'm like you. I mean, food for me is something that I do because it's a necessary evil. I don't particularly like eating. I don't particularly like the time it takes to eat. When I eat, more often than not, I'm watching. I'm on the internet, or I'm watching TV, or I'm reading, and it became an issue. My wife had to tell me, hey, can we not? And so now I've turned it into social time. In the morning, I'm alone. For me, it's like tomorrow we'll get together for the game, and we'll get together, and
That's a big time for eating,
it'll
though.
be social.
I mean, that's a huge time for eating. Super Bowl.
What? I'm sorry, what now?
The Super Bowl is a huge time for eating.
Oh, eating. Yeah. But
Eating, drinking, gathering.
yeah, but for me, I don't get joy out of eating. I mean, I may, this is really good. I mean,
But-
you asked me the other day about the cake.
but-
It was good.
But people.
Oh, other people do. Yeah, other
I mean,
people do. It's just very difficult for me to relate.
So, but you relate through the reality shows where they have
yeah, but I don't get the
food-
joy. I don't get the
food-
joy.
food stuff.
I don't get the joy. I mean, I don't get the joy. Because the judges are eating it, and the judges aren't joyful.
Yeah.
It's.
So besides cake shows, what do you like as far as the food shows?
Oh, I watch Chopped. I watch.
That's a meat thing.
Chopped. No, that's when they have baskets and there's a bunch of different food things, and they open the basket and they have to make an appetizer, and then they have to make a dessert or a dinner, and then a dessert. And
full course meal.
It starts with four chefs, and then one gets chopped, and then one gets chopped, and then one.
Oh, so they're getting chopped,
Yeah.
like eliminated.
yeah, and they
or
get
fired. Or
yeah,
whatever.
and they get crazy stuff. Like they'll get a rack of lamb and gummy worms, and they have to make a meal
Mm-hmm.
out of them. I watched MasterChef. I watched.
Master Chef. There's three.
Yeah, I see. And the problem is I don't watch TV unless I'm in the house, and then I go, "What's on?" But there's nothing that I sit down that's broadcast regularly that I sit with the exception of Survivor. There's nothing I sit down and just watch except for football.
Well, yeah, and I know how busy you are, so it's amazing to me that you have time to watch TV.
It's always
In the first place.
It's on in the background.
But when you do, it's either food or it's football.
No, it's competitive shows.
Competitive shows. So it's more the competitive shows.
That's what it is.
Yeah,
I
okay,
hadn't thought
gotcha.
about it before,
That makes
but
sense.
it's sports, cooking shows, Lego Masters, Survivor. Those are just competitive shows.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, if there's nothing else on, I'll watch an episode of The Race Around the World, whatever they call that. What do they call that show?
Oh, The Great Race.
Great Race.
Yeah.
No,
Great Race, yeah.
not The Great Race. Whatever they call
I
that
thought it was
show.
Great Race.
Yeah, maybe it is.
Yeah.
There's a new one that I've been watching where they climb a mountain. Summit.
So anyway,
Summit.
competitive shows.
Just competitive shows.
So I guess the the crux of this conversation as it relates to food is the people that I've observed the most that I want to get this message with today, especially from a teaching standpoint, are those people that are paralyzed because of food that they believe is forbidden, they shouldn't eat, and it usually has some kind of a connection to what they understand God saying or God trying to communicate.
I mean, the biggest
In the
one, the biggest group there, and to paint with a broad brush, is the Jewish community, right?
How so?
Well, because they have to eat kosher. They can't eat pork. They can't eat shellfish. I mean, and that's because that comes out of the Mosaic Law. It's also become cultural. I mean, there's also an issue there where it's cultural. And the other night I was over at some people's house. I don't know if you know them, but they fed me Ethiopian food.
Yeah, I probably know.
Okay. Well, there's a culture there, right? There's food there that I never eat, but I've been served it twice now, and I enjoy it. But there's a cultural element too in so much of it, in how it's cooked. I saw that at the graduation. There's a cultural
Or
element.
not cooked.
Well, whatever, but prepared.
Raw.
Whatever. But there's a cultural issue to how it's prepared. Okay, not unlike there's a cultural issue to a barbecue here in America, right? What I observed
Smoked
there,
or
what I observed,
grilled.
what I observed there was the ladies were in there preparing, cooking, whatever you want to call it, preparing the food, and it was something that the ladies did, and they came and socialized. Well, let's talk about an American barbecue. That's usually not that. It's just the opposite. It's a bunch of men out there talking sports, having a beer,
Right.
and that's the cultural part of food that I get. Right, that's the enjoyment. If there's an enjoyment that I get out of food, it's that part.
Because
it's
of
not
the
food.
community, the activity,
The
togetherness.
It's coming together. So the Jews have that too. There's a community issue there, right? A communal issue there. But I think most people that are Protestant or whatnot, they don't have real hang-ups from religious reasons, other than the fact that I think we're coming up. I'm not Catholic, so I think we're coming up on Lent sometime in the next little bit. People will quit eating something because, or it doesn't have to be eating, but they'll quit something because they think God is going to be happy with them because they've given up something, right? There was a book, and I used to have the book. I think it was written by a Jeffrey Tobin. He was real sick, and he tells a story and everything. But he went back to I can't remember now if it was a Jewish diet or the Adam and Eve diet back in the garden, and he said he made himself better and everything. And it's interesting. But so there's a lot of people that will go back and make that. Like my daughter's a vegan because she doesn't want to hurt the animals. Okay, and not for religious reasons. But there are people that will be vegan because they think that's what God gave Adam and Eve, so that must be how we're designed to work. Today.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it was good enough for them. I get the logic, right? It was good enough for them. If God designed them to run on vegan food, shouldn't we eat vegan food today? Okay, that's not an illogical argument.
I mean, you can see how people come to that
yeah.
conclusion.
It's not the moral issue. I mean, I would think more often. I agree with my daughter about the way we treat animals, especially here in America, but worldwide, and I just don't care. And I shouldn't say that it's heartless. It's just I'm still going to eat it. Right, for her, it's a bridge too far.
Well, Eve, I mean, you're a huge steak fan. I know that about you.
Absolutely.
So
I have cow.
No one's going to take. No one's going to take cow.
I try to have
beef
I try to have
yeah.
cow and pig every day.
Yeah.
And chicken.
Pig is so good for breakfast too.
It is. Oh man, it's wonderful. Okay, so anyway. I don't have a problem with somebody having a moral issue. I mean, who cares if I have a problem? But people have a moral issue that's just on that. And quite frankly, if you want to go down that path and look at that, that's something you ought to look at.
Yeah, and that really is another thing we didn't bring up about food. It's so emotional and so personal.
Sure.
And it holds such emotional, personal attitudes.
Look at when I was growing up. Yeah. When I was growing up, I'd come home from school and I'd have fish sticks or something, but I'd have a snack that I loved. I loved to take the Doritos and dip them in Fred Meyer applesauce. I loved it. My kids now, that's their favorite. That's their favorite snack.
You mentioned Doritos. Are they cheddar Doritos?
Just regular Doritos.
Because there's something about cheddar cheese,
I don't know, just regular
cheddar and applesauce.
See, I don't know.
That's a great pairing. It's a great combination.
You're overthinking it.
I'm really sounding like I'm more live to eat from that comment.
Yeah.
Because I love cheese.
But so
I do love cheese.
So I mean, once a year, once every 2 years, I will have that, and it takes me right back to my childhood. I'm sitting around the couch in my mom and dad's room watching Gilligan's Island again. But so I mean, there's people eat for lots of different. People eat because they're stressed. People don't eat because they're stressed. I used to smoke. I smoked when I was stressed. I smoked when I was not stressed. mean, people do a lot of this stuff. A lot of stuff, from near as I can tell, it's emotional. But there are people that really. I mean, I like to get out into national parks and hike. I'm getting ready. We're getting ready. We're going to go spend a week in Sedona, and I can hardly wait. We're trying to plan our thing. And finally, April and I looked at each other and said, you know what? It doesn't matter. No matter what hike we do, it's going to be in the middle of the desert in Red Rock. It's going to be great. And I'm beside myself. I spent all this morning packing. I'm just beside myself. But people look at me and go, are you kidding? I would never want to get off a sidewalk. But some of those same people love food. Because it triggers something inside of them. And I think we put a bad, so much of it, we put a bad thing in on that. But like anything, I can go to excess.
Sure.
You know, I am not one that promotes this thing that's going on in America now that we body positivity. I mean, yeah, you shouldn't be real thin, but I'm also don't think it's okay to be overweight, and I am overweight. I mean, I'm talking about myself, but I think society has gone to the point now where it says, well, every body shape is okay. That's not true. There's unhealthiness there. And
right.
we're not talking being people that are round or pear shaped, but people that are unhealthy, they don't need to be shamed. I'm not for body shaming or any of that, but we also shouldn't say, yes, it's okay to be unhealthy. It's not. Yeah. That's not compassionate.
You know, I was thinking about class pictures of people that were classmates of mine, and I look back, and this goes back a ways, and it certainly dates me, and it seemed like there was one fat kid in the classroom, and that was it. Now, if you look at classrooms, it seems like it's the opposite.
Well,
There's mostly overweight kids,
yeah,
with one skinny kid, and but anyway, I mean, obviously, the older you get, it's harder to maintain the weight and all that. But
hey, I slept in the same bed in high school as a kid that could eat anything he wanted to eat and was 160 pounds. I would eat McDonald's 3 times a week.
That's
three times a day.
That's a good metabolism.
Yeah, and now just saying the word McDonald's, I gained 2 pounds.
Just speaking the word.
Just speaking a word, I gained. So I mean, yeah, I get it. You know, I mean, and what you're talking about, there's a cultural thing that has happened that's a bigger discussion that can happen here about what we put in our bodies.
Yeah. So I am going to invite you now, because you are the teaching host guy, to kind of let it, rip, so to speak, and refer to scripture about talking about food. If you have anything, you're welcome to pull that out. And I'm going to leave the Thumper Dave button alone.
I don't know. I mean, you want me to?
Because now I feel like now is the time. I think the timing is right now to delve deeper into the spiritual aspect.
There's a group. Okay, as far as food and where this originally started when we talked about it back on the ship was there is if you're Jewish, and I understand a Jew's going to hear me and they're going to say whatever, Dave. I get that. Okay, it's so part of
not
their
necessarily.
But no, if they're a practicing Jew, they will get that, and I'm not going to insult them. I understand.
We don't insult.
I understand the level and the depth of their belief. They believe what they believe as strongly as I believe what I believe. Okay, but something to think about, because first of all they're going to disavow where I'm going to get my information, which is what we call the New Testament. Okay, they're going to disavow that. So anyhow, but there are a group of people, like I said earlier, that won't eat because they want to perform, and this is mostly Jewish people. They eat what Moses said you could eat: no shellfish, no pork, all those things. There's a group of people that wants to get closer to God. Okay, that's the fasting group. I'm going to fast because God wants me to, and He will bless me. I mean, and that's biblical, right? That was what you did. I mean, there was a time you would. Paul even talks about to Mary, he says, don't defraud one another unless you're going to separate, and that's just to fast and learn. So fasting is a biblical thing, but it's not something for us today. So my statement about food is there's 4 different, and this comes from a different place too. People want to claim every promise in the Bible. They want every verse to be for them. I claim every single thing that's in the Bible. And so I bring up, like what we've talked about here, Adam and Eve were vegans. Noah was told when he got off the boat, said you can eat animals. If you can kill them, you can eat them. Moses was told what we talked about: no shellfish, no pork, and all those things. And Paul says, eat whatever you want, just be thankful for it. Well, you can't do all 4 of those things at the same time. They're all biblical. Every single one of those things is biblical, right? People get up and they have their verse. When people say, I'm going to do this because God, they've got a verse, right? So that's why I teach and that's what we use. We rightly dividing. You have to rightly divide the word of truth. You got to understand all the Bible's for you, but it's not to you.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to know what to eat from God's perspective, he'll tell you a few things. Well, Paul's the apostle of the Gentiles. I said that 3 or 4 times now. Your apostle, if you can hear me today, your apostle is the apostle Paul. Okay?
Not Peter, in other words.
Not Peter. Hebrews says Jesus Christ is the apostle. Jesus Christ is not our apostle. Paul is the apostle of the Gentiles. He's a minister of Jesus Christ. You can go read Romans 15, and it's very clear on that. Romans 11, very clear on that. Okay? Paul tells you eat whatever you want, but be thankful. He also tells you if meat is going to cause, and meat it can be anything. It's food. Okay? We think of meat as cow, right? Meat can be peanuts, can be whatever. Paul says and you can eat whatever you want.
Meat, peanuts?
It's meat.
You say because it's protein?
No, it's meat. It's what you eat. The Adam and Eve were given the plants for meat.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, it's just sustenance.
Yeah, okay.
Sustenance. Okay. So when Paul talks about eating meat, now there's a context to it, but he said if what you eat is causing the weaker brother to stumble, then don't do that. So there's a reason why maybe in a religious sense you may maybe limit what you eat or not eat. You know, if I'm sharing the gospel with a Jew and I'm having them over, I'm probably not having them over for bacon. Right? Because
you're
the first thing,
sensitive to what they're...
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
And again, Paul's very clear. The kingdom of God is not meat and drink. It's power. Okay? So whether you eat or whether you don't eat, it doesn't matter. You just do it to God. He didn't care one way or the other, as long as you're eating.
Explain why you use the word power. It's power.
That's what Paul says.
Okay. But can you expand upon
Yeah,
that?
because that's what we do. We get all wrapped up in the kingdom of God is this, whatever it is. Fill in the blank. It's good living. It's not drinking alcohol. It's not eating pork. It's not eating too much sugar. It's not having a cigarette.
The do's and don'ts.
Whatever it is. Yes.
So
and Paul says it's power. It's in the power of the Holy Spirit in you, the power of Jesus Christ in you, the power of God.
Okay.
Time and time again, he talks about the power. And the power is in. He calls us these earthen vessels. So that the power is of God, because we know what power we have, right? We look at food, and our power, for the most part, is. I said it earlier. I said I don't care about food, but you know what? When I'm having a bad day, I like comfort food. Mm-hmm. I'm no different than anybody else. Give me a greasy hamburger, I'll be very happy.
Yeah. So basically, what you're just saying is, a lot of these do's and don'ts, or eat this or don't eat this, are trivial, even though it's emotional to so many, including myself, compared to the power of God and what is really the issue of today.
I wouldn't put it that way. I wouldn't use that word.
I'm trying to summarize.
Right, I wouldn't use that word trivial, because to the people that are dealing with whatever it is, it's a real deal. Right. But what I would say is God's not mad at you if you ate too much or didn't eat enough. He's not mad at you if you had pork or didn't have pork. He's not. There's no consequence in God's eyes to what you eat, with the caveat that don't do it in such a manner that it causes somebody else to stumble.
That's where it becomes.
And then, and even then God's not going to take something away from you or punish you.
Because of grace.
Because of grace.
Got to bring this back around.
Right, because of grace. But it's because you shouldn't do that. We used to have a pastor, and he and his wife were wine connoisseurs. And most people knew it, but they never drank in front of anybody, because they were a pastor, and there were a lot of people that think if you're a Christian you shouldn't drink. Period.
And it's not that they weren't being hypocritical, because of grace. All things essentially are fine. Right. But because of them, because of their love and consideration
for their flock,
for them, they withdrew that.
Exactly. Exactly.
So we've really gone. We've had a good conversation about the subject, and I'm hoping that people that hear this can fit into your life, not feel any condemnation, but sense grace through the conversation. What I would like to do in kind of wrapping things up, though, today, is I want to refer to this, what we call food for thought, or segue to the end, or kind of bring it into a kind of an exclamation point or a period. What would you want people to walk away with as we look back on our conversation or think back on our conversation? If they don't remember anything else, and I've heard you say this before, what do you want them, the listener, to walk away with more than anything.
Well, the number one thing is, I mean, I'm going to sound like a football player now, but number one thing is to make sure you're saved. To believe Jesus died for your sins, was buried, and rose again for your justification. Now, what's that? Understand the grace that you're under. If the subject here was food today, if you are under some kind of guilt or bondage regarding your relationship with God because of food, you need to put that aside and understand the grace that you have from God. The other thing I will tell you, and this I will from my personal experience, if you, and I'm not judging anybody, but if you have a food addiction, let's talk about that. Understanding God's grace will help a person overcome that addiction, just like it will help them overcome an alcohol addiction, a drug addiction, a pornography addiction, a whatever addiction it is. Mm-hmm. Understanding God's grace will help a person overcome that. In fact, that's truly actually the only way you're going to overcome that. I've spent plenty of time in 12-step rooms, and the problem with the 12-step room is it's 12 steps. It's 12 laws. Okay? So, I mean, that's what
Which
it
is kind of a part. That's a paradox.
It's what it is.
It's kind of part of the problem.
Yeah, it's what it is. You stand up and say, "Hi, I'm Dave, and I'm fill in whatever you are," and so you're self-identifying as that instead of I'm the saint of the Most High God.
I've never thought of
it
it that way.
Yeah, that's why there's such high recidivism. And I understand, don't send your emails to me, but I understand. I've been in the room. I know how those rooms work, and I've seen them work, and I've seen them not work. So again, that's not the point. The point is God's grace and understanding how God's grace works in your life, and you're only going to find that through the books of Romans through Philemon, will how you get power and overcome whatever that addiction is. Now, it's food. We're talking about food today, and we didn't talk about food addictions necessarily, but it can be any addiction, any sin issue that's in your life. Applying God's grace to it, as you find in Romans through Philemon, is how you will overcome that. Because those are the books that are written to and specifically about you.
Yeah. And it all has to do with
God's grace.
Well, and the flesh too.
Yeah.
And those are fleshly things.
The other thing I will say, and people always misunderstand this, consistently always misunderstand this, consistently always. Just because you find joy in something doesn't mean it's bad. People will hear me saying, okay, well, I shouldn't take joy in food. I shouldn't really like to eat because that means I've got a problem with it. No. If you're passionate about something, go for it. Do everything in moderation. Mm-hmm. But if you got a passion for food, go for it. And if you make something really good, send it to me. I'll eat it.
That's a good place, I think, to end this on a very upbeat thing. So, Dave, I want to thank you for joining us today, but especially thank you. I appreciate your friendship and your willingness to host the teaching podcast.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Thanks, brother.
You bet. Thank you. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
All right.
Before you leave, Sam, where can people get in contact with Dave? You're going to do that. You're going to be speaking at
he's going to be at a conference in a week.
Yeah.
I'll be in a conference in a week. I'll be at the Berean Bible Society conference, or not Berean Bible Society, Berean Bible Ministries conference down in San Juan Capistrano, and you can find it on their website, BereanBibleMinistries.com. I think that's where I'll be. That's where I'll be next week. But you can catch me on Facebook on Grace Life NW on Facebook and YouTube.
That's a great conference because it's always around Valentine's Day.
It's on
in sunny California.
It is on Valentine's Day this year.
Oh yeah, it's awesome.
Friday. It's Friday. I mean, of all the times, Friday the 14th.
Yeah, and John Verstegen hosts that. He does a great job.
Richard Jordan,
and we definitely need to have him up here too.
Yeah, Richard Jordan will be there. Rick Jordan will be there, and I think David Reed, myself.
Yeah.
So.